Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And as you can tell from the banner today, we're going to honor a guy that I thought was a great actor, very one of those cool, tough guy actors. He reminded me a lot of Charles Bronson. He reminded me a little bit of Lee Marvin. Um, Much bigger in stature, of course. He was a big guy, but his name is Michael Madsen, and today he passed away early this morning at the age of 67. We just learned that it was from cardiac arrest. We will find out more as the days go by. But he was found unresponsive in his home in Malibu, California today, and he is believed to have died of natural causes. There is no foul play at this moment that anybody believes involved here. Madsen's manager, Ron Smith, said cardiac arrest was the apparent cause. Now, Madsen had one of those careers where he was in like 300 films. And he stretched back all the way back to the 1980s. He was born in Chicago, Illinois, and he went to the very famous Steppenwolf Theater Company in Chicago. I believe Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray went there or studied there. And of course, if you're a fan of John Malkovich, you'd know that he was there for a very long time. And a lot of actors from the Midwest went to this very prestigious theater company, and Madsen was one of them. He actually appeared in the production of Mice and Men, the great Steinbeck book. He wasn't a big star. He wasn't, Tom Cruise or Pitt or DiCaprio. His acting was not on the level of De Niro or Pacino or Nicholson, but he was that guy that had presence. He often played the low-level gangster or thug, and Tarantino used him brilliantly in one of my favorite movies, Reservoir Dogs. And he made him a main character in that movie. He was, of course, Vic Vega, or Mr. Blonde. And of course, we remember, if you saw that movie, we remember the great torture scene where he captures a police officer in Reservoir Dogs, and Madsen, wearing a black suit, the bank robber. He uses Stuck in the Middle with You from Steelers Wheels, and he cuts off the cop's ear, which is one of the most famous scenes that you'll ever see. Madsen, of course, said that he hated doing that scene, and he hated it even more. And I remember the actor who was playing the officer. His name was Kurt Baltz. Tarantino told him to ad-lib something to make the audience feel sympathy for him, and to show how much Vic Vega was a ruthless, mean son of a bitch, because it wouldn't save him anyway. So Baltz added this line. He ad-libbed a line where he talked about he begged for his life because of his children. And Madsen, according to Tarantino, stopped the scene and said, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And Tarantino said, no, you can do it. Just remember, it's not Michael Madsen. It's Vic Vega. It's Mr. Blonde. And he did the scene where he says, are you through? Are you through? That's another ad lib, according to Tarantino. And he became a Tarantino regular. He had small roles as the great Bud in Kill Bill Volume 2. You saw him in Volume 1 when they shoot up the church, but he had that wonderful role in Volume 2 where he's the bouncer in a titty bar, and he has the great line, where he's talking to what the hell was his name? God, I forget his name right now, but he played Bill, and Bill warns Bud that Beatrix is coming and she's going to kill him, and he says, listen, I'm a bouncer in a titty bar. She wants to start any shit. She should come down to the bar, start some shit, and we'll have a fight. That character had given up the life of an assassin, and he played it perfectly. He played the hitman perfectly, and he played a whole bunch of other roles perfectly, especially the role he played in Donnie Brasco, where he played Sonny Black. He was so authentic in that movie. He played it so close to how I remember the guys in my neighborhood being, with the grunting and like these guys had their own language. They didn't say if you said, "Hey, how's it going?" They didn't say, "Oh, everything is cool." They go, "Ah," and he did the same. He did those things, and I'm sure he probably spoke to some wise guys to get that feel. But he appeared in a lot of films, especially the Tarantino films. He was in The Hateful Eight. He was the alternate choice in Pulp Fiction if John Travolta had turned down the role of a hitman. The character of Vincent Vega is the brother of the Madsen character in Reservoir Dogs, and there was always talk of Tarantino doing kind of like a Pulp Fiction prequel of the Vega brothers, which I was, in the 1990s, I was hoping for. That would have been freaking awesome. Madsen, of course, is also, of course, the brother of the very lusciously hot Virginia Madsen. And if you're a movie fan like I am, if you remember her in the 80s and 90s, she was one hot tamale. She was absolutely gorgeous. Still is today. She was, of course, nominated for an Academy Award for the film Sideways with, oh my goodness gracious, why are all these names escaping me right now? But yeah, he's a great actor, but I just forget. I got to look it up now. You're gonna kill me for this, but she was in that movie too. She was really, really good, and I don't know if she was Paul Giamatti was his name. I don't know if she was better than he was as an actor, but they both had very solid careers, not great big careers, not the big movie star career, but they're people that you would know when you see them. And that's all you need. I mean, the guy lived in Malibu, so he must have made money. He had a very good career. David Carradine played Bill in the Kill Bill's movies. That's who it was. All right. So sometimes, when you're on the air, you know these names when it doesn't matter, but when you're on the air, you always forget these things. He was a very, very, very good character actor, and he knew that he couldn't really play the good guy. People wouldn't really believe it. It was almost like James Gandolfini playing a good guy. People recognized him as a tough guy to Tony Soprano. Even in Get Shorty, he played the stuntman who was kind of the good guy, but he was a bad guy at the same time. Gandolfini and Madsen always had to play the bad guy because they was too cool to be good. James Wood, who starred in a few films with Madsen, wrote on X today, and I quote, I was always touched by his sweet nature and generosity, the absolute opposite of the tough guys he portrayed so brilliantly. Now, Madsen was born and raised in Chicago. We know that he went to the Steppenwolf Theater. His first film of significance, and I don't remember him in this movie, and I've seen this movie a couple of times, was the 1983 film War Games with Matthew Broderick. I remember him in another film that happened about a year later called The Natural with Robert Redford because he played a character named Bump Bailey and he stood out because he was big. But then he became more of a TV star. And he got into movies like shows like Quantum Leap, which was a movie about this guy who goes, back and forth in time. And I think this is where he became a Tarantino, uh, where Tarantino noticed him when he started appearing in Miami Vice. And that's when I think he really got people's attention. And he got Oliver Stone's attention too, because not too long after that, he would play the role of the I think he was supposed to be a porn star or something like that in the movie The Doors, and that elevated his career. And then he got the role in Thelma and Louise, which is a great movie. He played Susan Sarandon's husband, I think, or boyfriend. But then it all came full circle when he got into Reservoir Dogs. That's the movie that I first really recognized him in. I remember this has got to be 1991, 1992, going to the Angelica Theater on Houston Street in Manhattan, if you don't know what that is, and seeing Reservoir Dogs with this super hot chick who told me she wanted to take me to see this movie, way out of my league. And yeah, I was hooked. I wanted to know everything about Quentin Tarantino. I wanted to read everything about Quentin Tarantino, and of course, in those days, you didn't have any internet, so you really didn't have much to go by. And Tarantino didn't have much to go by anyway because that was like his first real movie. He had made it like a short, my best friend's wedding, my best friend's birthday or something like that. But that was his first movie. He was in other films like Free Willy. He played more of a comical role there. But most of the time, for the most part, he was consistently in smaller roles throughout his career. He was a family man. He had 6 children. Now, he was married a bunch of times. Unfortunately, one of his children in 2022, one of his sons had passed away, and many people believe that that kind of took a lot out of him. That loss, of course, put a strain on his third and final marriage, and he was arrested for domestic battery last year, but wasn't charged. And then he filed for divorce weeks later. He was a very recognizable actor, and you would love to have seen him. And if you haven't seen any of his films, if you haven't seen any of the movies I just mentioned, Reservoir Dogs first, Donnie Brasco second, Kill Bill number three. That's where you would go. He was also in The Hateful Eight, but he had a smaller role in that. Not that big. He was one of the cowboy members that was ready to ambush Kurt Russell in in the haberdashery there. If you've ever seen that movie, which was a cool movie too. But it seems like over the last few years, he did a lot of independent stuff. And I believe that he was working. They say he was working. I was reading that he was working on a book, uh, and it was a cookbook for Southern cuisine, I think. But it seemed like he was on a path of more for himself, and he wanted to do things, smell the roses, and make his own path. He was, I would say, an iconic cult actor, not the type of guy that people are going to remember as, you know, again, like Cruise or Pitt or DiCaprio. Certainly not the Pacino, Nicholson, De Niro area. But he will be remembered as a cult classic actor because of his association with Tarantino, because of the movies he made with Oliver Stone. And he had that look. He just had that look, that cool dude look. And yeah, that's the reason why, a lot of people are going to miss him, and I'm going to miss him. I mean, I hate to say this because it's not the Christian way of saying it, but a good. I didn't know him obviously, but he seemed like an okay dude. Like, you don't know somebody, even if you know them, you don't really know them. But I go by their body of work. I don't care how they are in their private lives. But a guy like this guy, right, 67 years old, he had probably another 15, 20 years left. The way people are living today. Didn't really do anything crazy. Wasn't a psycho freak like this Sean Combs is. This guy dies of a heart attack. Sean Combs is going to be partying up for the rest of his life. And trust me, he's going to go back to doing his evil ways. But this was a talented man, an amazing presence on screen. And if you like his films, go over this 4th of July weekend, watch something of his. Watch something that he was in. The book, okay, so I just looked this up. The book that he was writing, and he was publishing volumes of this, is called Tears for My Father, Outlaw Thoughts and Poems, and it's due out next year. So look out for that, maybe if you're into to some of the poems of Michael Madsen. But Tarantino wrote the foreword for this, and the actor and Tarantino were very, very close. Very close. Mr. Blonde is probably one of the single most greatest characters in the Tarantino universe. And he had the whole bad boy package. He had that handsome bad boy look. He had the hair. He had the stature. He was a big, tall guy. He just, and the delivery and the way he spoke. He had that delivery. You can't teach that. That's not something that you can teach. So, to the great Michael Madsen, we say adieu. We'll see you on the other side. You gave us great memories, and people like him, they don't die because they'll live forever in film. You'll see him terrorizing Johnny Depp and Al Pacino and Donnie Brasco. You'll see him busting Harvey Keitel's balls in Reservoir Dogs. You'll see him shooting Uma Thurman in the chest with rock salt and then burying her alive. The part where he spits chew on her face is just, it's so gross, but it's so funny. He does it so effortlessly. It's great. But anyway, tomorrow, of course, is the 4th of July. I might do a podcast tomorrow. We'll see. I'm supposed to be running around to different barbecues here and there, so I'm going to see if I can squeeze one in. But I wanted to wish you all a happy 4th, a safe 4th of July. I can't tell you how many people lose fingers and toes and limbs because they just don't know how to behave with fireworks. But nobody in my audience is like that because we're all evolved men, right? We have a purpose. We're not going to give that up for some stupid firework display. Michael Madsen will miss the 4th of July. He's seen 67 of them, but he'll miss this one. So hopefully, you never know when God's going to take us and if we get another day. So we should always be thankful that we do have another day. Hopefully, we all have tomorrow. on America's birthday. So anyway, how do we leave you? Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and be careful out there, my friends. Satan is always busy. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for, just like Michael Madsen displayed. We'll see you later.